Hi everybody. So here we are again, and I, have to say that I'm a bit surprised by that. I recently got a comment asking where the next episode of the, 256 Worlds Mario Brothers thing was, and the answer is right here. I've had this footage for a while, already, but didn't have any commentary recorded for it. And I was basically just sitting on it because I thought that I kind of thought the whole thing flopped a little bit, but I was pleased to see someone was interested. At least I hope that's what it was. It might have also just been a stop talking about politics and go back to video games thing, which is, I guess, sort of to be expected. But regardless, we got some encouragement to do another part of the 256 Mario World project, and here we are starting off with World A, and we're going to play to World L. World A is, as you might have been able to discern from what you've been watching just now, a endless coin heaven level set underwater. You got the awesome star power music playing, and basically it just goes on forever. If I were to drop off the bottom of the screen right now, it would just spawn me at the beginning. Right now I'm just sort of trying to test how far I can go, and I think I come to the conclusion basically that that there is no limit, or if there is a limit, that it is far beyond the reaches that you could achieve in this time limit. But the reason I think I'm moving forward actually is if you pay attention to the bubbles coming off of Mario, they seem to be moving away from Mario. So I think that implies that I'm moving forward, but maybe that's just how the bubbles move always. I can't really make a determination on that. But we're coming up at the 100-second mark, and that's when something kind of funny kicks in. We have the sped up star power music, which is kind of hilariously fast and weird. But yeah, here we are again, another part of this. As long as people are continually interested in seeing more of this, I have footage for another 2 or possibly 3 episodes, and I can definitely record more. It's not a big deal. I'm certainly grateful to everybody who watches my videos and enjoys them, especially as I begin to diversify my content to some extent. And just to finish off sort of the update section of this video while time runs out, I've got some reviews planned and stuff coming up here too, but expect all new content soon, and my time is up. So on to B1, another level that I'm a real big fan of here. First of all, we got a comment on Bowser's genius placement of his Koopa Troopas. Probably not going to get the job done, but that guy tried before he fell off a ledge. Yeah, it's an underwater castle area, and it looks really nice. I love whenever they mix the water color with the underground area. It reminds me of a cave. Specifically, I had a field trip in junior high school where we went exploring caves, and they had a lot of water running through them. We actually waded through the water. It was a really cool experience, and this is very evocative of that. So this level holds a special place in my heart. It's not the last time we're going to see something like that, though. So not exactly spectacularly unique. But C1, here we go. More terrible Koopa placement. That guy was sort of flashing in and out of existence. A platform. I think actually if I would have waited for that guy, he would have fallen down. But actually these levels can be pretty volatile. There's something about the way the enemies are placed that, sometimes elements will just be randomly inserted like giant fire bars. Sometimes it won't be there. Sometimes it'll make it crash, sometimes it won't. So there is a variable nature even to the glitch levels themselves. So I wish I could give you a more complete picture of some of these levels, but this is the best I can do. D1's a similar thing, which is why I just want to say, even though so far this has been not the most spectacularly impressive stuff, I can tell you that we're in for at least a few treats, and I think some interesting goings-on. It's worth noting that D1 and B1 are the same, just with different, I think headers is what they're called, in SMB Utility, which is a hacking tool for Super Mario Bros. This one's just the water variety, and the other one is underground. It does give you a chance to see the various text colors that go with these backgrounds that go unused, I think. Maybe until lost levels. Oh, E. World E. Wonderful level. Yeah, so far a lot of these have been single level worlds, which is actually kind of fortunate for me as a player, because at some points, especially as the series continues, if you guys want to see more, wow, we're going to be in for some long conversations. So I think with this Endless Underwater Coin Heaven, I take a different approach. Instead, I sort of try to see what my options are and find that there are none. World G. Now, this one is a little bit more interesting, and I was surprised to find a world like this early on. Anyone familiar with Super Mario Bros. At this point should instantly recognize this level. It is, of course, World 1-2. In this case, it's after you've beaten the game already, but I'm not sure if that's because that's the way this level is, very well could be, or if it just so happens that I beat the game, as you saw in the previous episode, and now that is carrying over through the rest of the playthrough. We'll have to see. So there's no determination about that, but yes, it is a repeating variety of World 1-2, a theme that seems pretty consistent with a lot of levels that involve warp pipes. But that doesn't stop me from trying my hardest to find a way out, so we'll see that in a second as well. These glitch levels do sort of repeat some, so there's a chance that on future episodes you might be seeing this one again in particular. Like, off the top of my head, I think that might be the case, but we'll just have to see. If so, I'm sure I can come up with something to say for those portions of time. But as you just saw, though, the way that you enter a warp pipe can sometimes determine the area you spawn at the beginning. Eventually, this is the solution I came to for how to escape from G1 Purgatory. Just give me a second here. I'm sure I can pull it off. I remember this going a little bit quicker. There I go. Okay. And so from here, it works just like you'd expect. And as you can see, opening up the whole screen, it actually shows Welcome to Warp 5, which is an interesting thing, but I decided to go to World -1 to end everything off, because it's a fitting translation into World H1, which, much like World -1 or the Minus World, is a repeating underwater level that is pretty boring. It's actually amazing how fascinated I was early on with Mario by the Minus World, because it's by far one of the most boring things when you actually think about it. But it's cool. It's a cool party trick, especially for people who have never seen that but are familiar with the game. That's always something that surprises people. Alright. So here we are. This is World I. This is... oh, man. Okay, so like I said, when I was talking about earlier that I need to come up with something to talk about, this is what I was referring to, because not only is World I a longer world that repeats just this level for quite a while, this and another level, I believe, but also this, I don't know, variety of world appears quite a bit. When I finished my research paper on Super Mario Bros., after completing all 256 worlds and doing all this deep analysis, watching the videos over and over again, I'll come up with a term to describe this phenomenon, but it's this level, which might be World 3-3? 3-3, 3-2, something like that. This world and World 8-3 are super reoccurring, and they always come together in sort of packs. I was actually really looking forward to this world initially, because I had done this on actual hardware. I had played through Worlds I, M, and maybe L on actual hardware. And they did, well, maybe I should qualify that in a second. But they displayed some interesting behavior. Like those platforms had strange things going on where you jump on one platform and it actually affect a platform somewhere else entirely on the screen, and there's detached bits. Very fascinating stuff. That doesn't happen here. I should note that when I was doing that, though, I was playing it on a retro USB ABS, which unfortunately my ABS is busted right now, so I'm hoping to get that fixed soon. But I was playing it on an ABS, and it might have been that the what they were calling hardware emulation wasn't exactly up to snuff in this one very strange regard when dealing with sort of glitchy things. I don't think that's really a problem. I'm a big fan of the ABS. I think I might have even mentioned that on the previous episode. But just something worth noting, I think. Are we finally out of it yet? Oh my god. So, maybe I should talk about diversifying the YouTube channel. Maybe this should be, update channel moment here. I really don't know. I'm gonna have to come up with some topic to discuss. But, so the YouTube channel's been dead for a while. I've been very busy with school. Just got into a new university after 2.5 years of community college, so that's taking up a pretty big chunk of my life. I do want to get back into making videos, and here we are. This is something worth noting. We're at World I-5. We have broken the level 4 barrier. It should be the first time we've done that. I'm nearly positive. So this is an exciting moment. Too bad it's kind of a boring level that we've seen a few times now. I should mention that actually... I feel like I keep on getting sidetracked on a million different things. I should mention actually that there came a point when I just became a complete god at this level. I didn't even need to think about what I was doing. My hands were playing the game itself. They were detached from my mind because it just muscle memory, built up quite a bit. And here we go. Here's 8-3. So you can look at this for a little bit. Fortunately, again, it's not too interesting because on the previous episode we beat 8-3. Oh boy. This is a fun level. It's definitely one of the more unique ones. It's one of the examples in Mario games where you just have this new element introduced with the castle walls. Very cool stuff. You see it 20 times though, and the novelty wears off of it. But that's not the game's fault. Oh boy. That was made me cringe a little bit. Of course, this level is a lot easier when you have the Fire Flower. Astronomically easier, and anytime I play this level without the Fire Flower is a complete pain. And it's kind of a pain even without it, but that sort of muscle memory eventually develops for this one too. I believe we have 7 through B to go through still, level-wise, so like I was saying, I've got university stuff going on, which obviously cuts into, video time and all sorts of other time, but I've got some video ideas. Also, I would like to actually, if I can ever get my hands on a capture card, do a video on the Switch, because I think it's actually Nintendo's best console since the GameCube, and maybe even the Super Nintendo, which is, I know, a big statement. Especially from someone like me who loves the GameCube and the SNES. The N64 is also really good, but, looking back on it, it doesn't really have the greatest library. But it is an incredible console. I really love what they're doing with the Neo Geo games on there. I've been introduced to some games that I never thought I would be, like Waku Waku 7. I'm a huge fan of that game now. And I would never have been introduced to it unless through the Switch. And it's really just been... I'm going to make a whole video about this, maybe, about just the ways the Switch has brought life back to, my gaming experience in a really unique way. So maybe be on the lookout for that. I want to sort of do more things along the lines of this, and along the lines of my talking about tweets thing, and all that. Sort of moving away from reviews in some small way. Because I've come to the realization that there's only so much, much like there's only so much you can say about, you know, World 8.3, there's only so much you can say about the review of a game. In each of my reviews, I try and approach some element that hasn't been discussed in my previous reviews and sort of highlight that to some extent. I'm running out of the ability to do that. So I definitely have a few reviews left in me, and maybe if I feel inspired that this could go on for, you know, even longer. I think it'll always be a part of my YouTube channel, but I definitely need to diversify before I lose my mind. And speaking of losing losing my mind, okay, World I-9. I mean, it must be said that this is kind of an amazing moment where we're playing a world outside of World 8 and a level outside of 4. I mean, that's cool. It's just an interesting thing to happen. I don't know if there's really. I guess the next milestone is just to see the letters, right? A letter number, a level number numbered with a letter, something like that. And we're about to. Almost 200,000 points collected over the course of one world. And here's our last time through World 8.3. I'm trying to come up with like various terms for these worlds that we encounter with this sort of behavior. Because I can't help but wonder if there's some worlds that really do go on to 256, they just never stop repeating. I feel like that's a unique, separate thing from this kind of world, which is terminated by a repeating level. And if that doesn't make sense because it sounds contradictory and weird, it probably is a little bit. You'll see what I mean here as we finish it. But there definitely seems to be different classes of levels. Ones that have a defined ending, beating a castle usually, and ones like this one. It just would get onto it so we can get out of this hell. Where you go into an underwater level which just repeats itself and there's no way to go on to the next level. And then of course any worlds that might, and I don't know if any do yet, exhibit a repeating structure that goes on until the game runs out of possible accessible levels. Anyway, World J, thank God. And you know, when I encountered this, I'm sure I you know, breathed a sigh of relief because, wow, playing through 11 or so levels, it gets grating, especially when there's not much variety. So even the underwater castle at this point is a welcome sight, and it's mercifully short. Next up, we have World K, which, World K is pretty cool. Let's take a look. It's an overworld castle where you can hit the blocks. We got similar weirdness going on with the Koopa Troopas. Some Buzzy Beetles. So poorly placed. Sad. It's a disaster. But I think I show it off here. This should be kind of cool. You can actually break these blocks. Very neat. It's sort of strange that the overworld ground blocks exhibit the same properties of normal blocks, but it kind of makes sense. It looks right. That's sort of interesting. I do think there's actually ways to get on top of the level using this. I don't think I do that this time. there you go. Another entertaining level. Here we go. Final world, World L. You'll recognize this for sure, but stick with me, guys. There is something actually that happens at the end of this world that is pretty intriguing, and maybe you can guess it. Leave your guess in the comment section below. But, yeah, I gotta build up engagement on this stuff. Yes, World L is a fitting place to end, and it's got one of the most surprising moments to me that I really experienced out of what I remember. Like I said, this footage is kind of old. So yeah, a major goal of mine right now in terms of this whole YouTube thing is to produce a hit video already. I need to get on that. Not so much because I have any desire to be a popular YouTuber at all. I don't think that's a goal that I want, but just because it would be really nice if I could finally make the $100 threshold I need to collect a check from YouTube already, and then I could buy like a capture card or something. I've actually been thinking about setting up a Patreon. I'm pretty reluctant to do something like that. I'm not sure anybody would be interested in being involved in that sort of thing, and I'm not sure what I could give back that would be of any value. But regardless, this is all sort of going through my head right now. As my life gets more and more complicated with everything going on, I mean, I begin to have to feel like I have to justify my hobbies more and more so. Which is unfortunate, because that sort of detracts from the fun in a slight extent. But, you know, as long as people are enjoying stuff, then there's always a reason to come back, you know. So, again, I'd just like to thank the person who was interested in seeing more of the Final Mario Bros. Project. And I hope you'll stick around for any future editions. Did I mention the thing last episode? I probably did. I should mention it, I guess, about how there is a Super Mario Brothers B-buttonless playthrough that I think this is the level they were stuck on, but maybe recently they used a bullet bill to finally get around that whole thing. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here. Some of these repeated ones. Oh, here we are, everybody. It's our favorite level, World 8-3. Everyone loves it. It's just making me tired looking at it. It's incredible, actually. Oh, so this is interesting, I guess, is being in the situation where you have to attack them without fire flowers. I'd like to think that my previous, 6, 7 playthroughs of this level sort of prepared me for that, though. It's sort of hard to focus on it. This is just... Anyway, we're almost to the level that actually is interesting, so... Just a few more moments. almost messed up there. My ultimate goal is to not get hit at all, but I think eventually, or maybe even in this video, I don't remember, I do get hit. And it's like, oh, what can you do? Alright, World L4. The main event. The part that you've been waiting 24 minutes for. So of course this is Bowser's Castle, nothing too special about it so far, but those of you who have played a lot of Mario know that this is a repeating castle level with some pretty interesting mechanics, so let's just see how that plays out. Okay. Gotta jump across this platform. And I believe we're to our first junction. And I just walked past it. That is the interesting part about this level that makes it pretty unique in comparison to playing through the castle the regular way, is that not only does it not repeat, but actually if you try and go through the warp pipes, that's actually a terrible idea because they'll spit you out in some horrible, like, lava pit or something. So yeah, you get to just experience it as a normal Mario level. Albeit one kind of strangely designed, you know, given the whole thing. But here we are, and yet another intriguing moment for those of you who stayed till the end. Defeating Bowser after World 8 turns him into a bizarre screen object, which is very peculiar, but kind of fascinating. I just had to show that. Alright. Well, everybody, thanks for watching. We saved Princess Peach, and thus concludes Part 2. Bye.